Hats are always good.
You started a trend with the hats.
I did not. I'm helping revive it, doing my part. I'm doing my part to help revive the hat revolution.
And you have been doing that. We've seen more people wear just the hat thing is cool. We need to add some beadwork to this one.
Yeah, in my spare time between disaster relief, right?
Some lazy stitch beadwork. Okay, so it looks like the volume is working. Can you mic test into there? I think you just muted it.
Testing. Did I mess it up?
Hello, Charlotte. Good to see you. Uh-oh. Oh, no. All right, can you hear us? Yes. Okay, so thank you for joining us at Council Fire with the RiverWinds. We're just going to do some quick updates. I know it's sporadic. Some of you have been following what we're doing on social media, whether it's Facebook or mostly Facebook. That's how old school we are. We're trying to catch up with like Instagrams and all that stuff.
You guys, anyway, we have been so busy that we haven't had time even to do videos. You've probably caught us in some of the things if you've been paying attention to other people's stuff, because we've been a little bit of here, there, and everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought we would jump on and give you an idea of what we've been doing lately.
So part of our advocacy, as you know, is part of our calling with firekeepers and advocacy between First Nations and the people of Israel. And so we were invited to come to the IAC up in Washington, D.C. And that was actually very special because Laurelyn actually presented a proclamation to the Israeli embassy.
So the IAC is the Israeli American Council. And it is designed to help Israelis who have moved to America be able to deal with some of the challenges and pressures of being Israelis living in the U.S. and to help them with resources, etc. So we were there at their annual conference and there to be an encouragement to them to bridge build and network and make friends and tell the Jewish people how much we love and support them.
And also see old friends and friends that we've seen from the West Coast. Talking about the embassy.
And we got to go to meet one of the ministers at the embassy in Washington, D.C. She is amazing. She's the ministry, I need to get her title right, the Minister of Public Diplomacy.
And she's a Druze. The Druze are indigenous people also of the Swana region, and they trace their lineage all the way back to Jethro. And they've, since Jethro and that family connection that became with Moses, the Druze have always been very ardent and vehement, what would you say, guardians and in covenant allies of the people of Israel. And she also came and spoke at the launch of
She Leads Native America. I do want to say something about some of the things that we're talking about that we're doing. I know many of you are probably like, well, this doesn't seem like that important of a work, because I know donations have kind of reflected that you're not really connecting. Some of you aren't really connecting with what it is that we're doing, or maybe you don't quite understand what we're doing. Let me put it this way. The world is picking on the Jewish people. And this is the pattern that we saw before the Holocaust, just 2 generations ago. And so what happened during that generation? People were not there to stand up and risk their neck for the Jewish people. And what happened was that it spiraled into a 6 million people genocide.
And it wasn't just the Jewish people. There was all the disabled. There was so many people groups, but the point is, this is what happened. And our friends, our Jewish friends and our Israeli friends are saying, where's the voice of the people? Where we don't hear anybody.
Where are the Christians?
Where are the Christians? Where's the church?
They keep asking us over and over again.
And then,
my question is, before the Holocaust, where was the voice of the church? Where were the Christians? People were kind of, surely it's not really happening. Surely it won't be that bad. Nobody could have guessed it would have been millions of people burned to ashes.
As opposed to, thanks to your prayers and also support. And there's times when we've all also been able to come together, even some of you who are watching, From hearing those type of statements to hearing things like, "This is the best day I've had since October 7th." We've heard that from two, if not maybe three, different people. I remember definitely two people saying that to Laurelyn, and that was just
Oh,
us.
there's more than that.
Yeah, and that was just us saying, "We're here. We're standing with you. We're Indigenous. We have the same history. You're not alone in this," and that has meant the world to them.
There have been so many people who have said, I mean, men, warriors with tears in their eyes, saying, "You have no idea what it means to hear." They have encouragement and love. They are their soul. It ministers a specific kind of love to them that Christians are willing to risk their reputations, which is what we've done, to risk our public standing, which has been affected,
Our public safety.
our property,
Y'all have no idea. Our property.
been vandalized.
Yeah.
That we are willing to stick our necks out for the Jewish people in defense of them, to advocate for them, and to tell them, not just to tell them, but to be there. So when you guys donate to Firekeepers, I want you to understand, through us, we are your voice to help the Jewish people know that there are those who love them and support them. And we tell them, we would not be able to be here saying this right now if other people didn't agree with us and support us. And by the way, right now there is up a petition of repentance from the church to Israel.
Put it in here.
And
let me grab my phone to do it.
It's about to go out to a lot of people, and it's about to be presented to a very important, I'm not going to give it away yet, it's a surprise, but a very important key leader in Israel's government. So we would love for you to put your name, add your name to it as somebody who's apologizing for the sins of the past of the church and Christians.
Give them the website address.
It's on change.org, but if you go to ourkisstoisrael.com, you can find the petition link up on that website. So we can have that. We can put that later in the comments or something. No, just it's like you don't understand the tech stuff. This is hard.
And also understanding that's not the only thing that Firekeepers does, and we'll go into some of the other things too. That's actually a very small portion of what we do, but ever since October 7th, it really amped up because that is the focus. And for those of you who have a biblically based life and spirituality, when Ruth said, "Your people will be my people, your God will be my God. Where you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die." That is a covenant statement, y'all. That isn't just some flippant thing that you say, and then when things are actually happening to the people that you say, "I'm with you,"
you're carrying on life as
and
normal.
You're just going on like everything's okay. It's like, no, okay, you made a covenant promise, you made an oath, and even Yeshua. Let's take it all the way to the Brit Hadashah. Yeshua is talking with people who he's talking about in the future. Who they say, well, when did we, when he's talking about feeding the sick and visiting those in prison, and he uses the word in the Greek Koine translator, of course, he was speaking in Hebrew, but he uses the word that is blood relations, his blood people, his tribe. He was saying, if you haven't done these things to my tribe, to my people, get away from me, you lawless ones. I never knew you.
That is an important and impactful statement. So if you are not doing something right now, actively participating in doing something for his people, whether it's helping with relief efforts, whether it's helping with supporting IDF widows, or whether it's sending people like us to advocate, to put our arms around the Jewish people and say, we love you. We were sent to tell you, yes, people do care about what's happening.
And we take the hits for it.
Help you?
Gladly
what
so.
What can we do? And they're saying, come to our gala event and stand with us. come to our come and film over here and talk and educate people,
Mhm.
because there's like 60%, was it 60% of the people,
Something
I
like
hate,
that.
I need to learn the statistics better. But when we were at Stand With Us, they talked about a certain segment, a majority segment of the population doesn't understand the whole Israel versus Palestine issue. And so when we educate people, they're able to understand better. And why is this important? It's not just about advocacy. It's not just about if the Jewish state is going to be able to receive some kind of aid. We're talking about going into the book of Revelation here.
Mhm.
Just like it did during the Holocaust, things are going to shake down to one of two things. Either you are a child of the Most High God or you're not. And God's people, He has not left Israel. He has not forgotten or forsaken Israel.
He
And
doesn't
He
break
won't.
treaty. He's not the creator's not a treaty breaker.
So if you're not on the side of Israel, you're in a very precarious position. And you need to re-examine that with some facts from the other, from all angles.
Mhm.
Whether it be spiritual, political, archaeological, genetic. There are many different aspects to
Intellectual,
look at.
historical, all of those.
Anyway, I'm off on advocacy for Jewish people.
But that was a very incredible time that we spent there, and you just happenstance ended up speaking a blessing over the last monarch of the lineage of the monarchs of the Persians, who is very pro-Israel, and they're just waiting for the Iranian regime to be taken down so that Persia can be Persia once again, and not under Islamic oppression and back as allies of Israel. So that was pretty incredible thing that we got to speak and play with them. Totally happenstance. And then She Leads Native America was launched from the nation's capital, where you got to speak from. You spoke actually from the nation's capital 4 times, which is pretty
From
incredible.
Capitol Hill.
From Capitol
From
Hill,
the Capitol
yeah.
building, I was able to speak twice.
We went.
Once we launched She Leads Native America along with Maria Gergowich, and who's Apache, and Kwamanik Sukina, who is Cherokee, and a council of other Indigenous women leaders. And the point of it is to put the microphone to the voice of the Indigenous women and to honor them for what they're doing. And not just any Indigenous women, but these are specifically, it's a Christian Zionist organization. So these are all people who are believers and also who support Israel and pro-life agendas.
And are members of their tribes and communities.
It is open to descendants. So.
And not just the Americas, it's from Alaska to South America. So it's all indigenous women. And that was really powerful, incredible, seeing so many clan mothers and wisdom keepers and elders come together at the nation's capital. And that video, if you want to see that, that's on the YouTube channel. Look at She Leads Native America, and you can listen to the speeches and everything. Absolutely incredible. From there, then we went to Atlanta.
Yes.
Right, and met with a community of just some of the most incredible people that you will ever meet. They were Jewish and Native people, Sephardic Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish. Some were just Jewish, and oh my gosh,
it was just a private meeting, and it was, again, we heard over and over again just how much they needed it. That it was like a drink, an oasis in the middle of a desert.
We sang for them, played the flute.
If you're not Jewish and in the Jewish community, I think it's very difficult to understand right now, because life is probably going on as normal for you. But for them, I've heard the story over and over again, how many of them lost lifelong friends after
family.
October 7th. That every single one of them knows people who have died. Every one of them knows people who are in the military, who are rushing to bomb shelters on a weekly basis. Their world has been turned upside down, and it's easy. Let me just encourage you, Don't be the people at the as we the world was moving into the Holocaust who realized this isn't about me, because evil left unchecked turns into worldwide disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we don't do something now, and honestly, there may be nothing that we can do to change what is the course of biblical prophecy and history, but you will be called one day before your maker to hold an accounting for what you did or didn't do. When did I clothe you? When did I give you food?
When did
water?
I visit you in prison?
When did I visit you? These people are in prison right now by fear, by rejection, by violence, by all kind of
by blood libel,
hatred.
by fake news, but being the world putting out this thing that Israel is the aggressor when they're the ones being attacked on 7 fronts, right? 7 different fronts they're being attacked. Who's the aggressor?
Hell, it's 8.
Yeah. Being called the colonist nation. I mean, come on, it's the ultimate land back experiment gone right. The indigenous people regained their ancestral homeland. The Jewish people's capital was Jerusalem for thousands of years before Chichen Itza was built in the 6th century by the Mayans, before Rome and the Colosseum was a civilization, when Australia only had Aboriginals, indigenous people, no settlers. When all those things were going on, or not going on, the Jerusalem was the capital of the Jewish people, of Judea. So it is an indigenous issue. It's a very complicated issue, but they are in trauma right now. They're still at war. Every single offer. Netanyahu said, hey, give up the hostages. We've taken out all of Hamas's leadership. Give them up. We're not going to do anything. I can't remember who it was who even offered $100,000 for each hostage, who offered to pay Palestinians. We'll give you $100,000 for each hostage that you give up. And we'll stop this war. And no, because it's not about that. It's rooted in something so much more deeper than that. And it's biblical, and that's a whole other video series.
And here is your friendly reminder to keep praying. Every time we pray for our food, every time we wake up in the morning, when we go to bed at night, every time they come to mind, or when we hear a news report, remember to pray for the hostages.
Mm-hmm.
And Father, forgive us for the times that we forget, when we get so distracted by life. We just ask you, Father, to please help us remember. I mean, look at Job saying that if I forget Jerusalem, may my right arm lose its capability or fall out of the socket.
And praying for the peace of Jerusalem comes with a promise of prosperity, of all things. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just popped in my head.
You're adding to, yeah.
So then from there, yeah.
And then from there, we went to gather the nations
for the Feast of Trumpets in Orlando.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Refill. We needed that. It's been so difficult, just with the war and just everything, just life bombardment, and just being able to come together for the feasts and to celebrate. I mean, it was, Joshua Aaron is the one who had the vision to put this on. And then Aaron Schust came along, and we brought the drum and native dancers. And I have never been at a gathering like this where there were so many nations that were leading the praise and worship. Y'all, the praise and worship in Arabic was absolutely beautiful to me. I've never heard praise and worship being sung in Arabic, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. This is so moving,
and that Latin praise music, that was awesome.
And then a band from Africa came, harpists.
Big Daddy Weave was there.
Yeah, Big Daddy Weave was there, and he sang on the drum with us. I think they were from Australia, the harpists, or New Zealand.
Irish, wasn't she?
I don't remember.
She was Irish.
But it was literally the gathering of the nations, and it was so incredible.
Hey, Prometheus Lens podcast is on.
Hey,
good to see you,
Doc Brown. Y'all, if you haven't seen his podcast, if you some of us here are already into the fringes, right? You can check out his podcast, Prometheus Lens. He really goes into a lot of the things that most people have a lot of questions about. So good to see you, man. And he's local to us. He's our neighbor.
So after Gather the Nations
We went
on
right
Feast
back
of
to DC.
Trumpets, we went back to DC, and we were honored to be a part of the October 7th memorial service,
The embassy,
which was on the National Mall.
right? That and
It was a very well put together
yes,
memorial service. It was beautiful. The speakers were amazing. Matter of fact, J.D. Vance, Vice Presidential candidate J.D. Vance, spoke
right.
shortly before we did. It was an honor to share the platform with a presidential candidate. You know, we may
That
not
was
have
pretty neat.
exactly everything on in agreement with him, but it was still great to see him really show up for the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And
There were speakers there from everywhere that, even people I'd never heard of. There was one lady who's banned from Egypt for standing up for Israel. She can never go back to her home country again. So, I mean, there was just a lot of incredible people, a lot of incredible speakers, and we were able to just, honor the people of Israel and sing an honor song for the fallen warriors, for the veterans, and also in memorial of the We Will Dance Again. Holly Kingsbury from the Pueblo Nation wrapped an Israeli flag around her and danced in honor of those who fell at the Nova Massacre.
And not just at the Nova Massacre, there were, for everybody who fell that day,
the kibbutzes,
then.
And then we went to the memorial service. The Israeli embassy invited us to come to a special memorial service where
the Anthem Theater.
Held at the Anthem Theater,
in Washington, D.C.
Yep, and that was pretty incredible, y'all. If you haven't heard my B-52 story, you have to go to our social media to hear all that, because that is just an incredible God thing, and at some point we need to just share it, because
you know what I think is interesting about it is just that the song that is connected with that group that has to do with the Love Shack is all about debauchery, sexual debauchery. And so what does that have to do with B-52 and with us? And it was about the fact that we were coming in to blast with prayer the very concept of the infidelity, the sexual sin, all of the stuff that goes with that.
We're fast forwarding to the Day of Atonement gathering, which I didn't want to get there just yet, because Laurelyn she did just incredible. There was protesters that were there, just at the memorial service, and
for October 7th,
and they're sitting there with these ridiculous signs and fake blood and all this stuff, and the Jewish people are sitting there like, what do we do? What do we do? And Laurelyn's like, we're just turning our back on them, because in our culture, that's a way of shaming someone. We're very much a shame and honor culture, and so you shame someone by turning their backs. And when Laurelyn did that, she said she saw.
And when I did that, I felt like, you know what? It's not enough to turn our back on it, because it's almost like turning a blind eye. Because I looked over next to me and I saw these beautiful Jewish people who were mourning October 7th, just looking at what they were doing, and had this dejected, hurt, confused, persecuted look. And I just thought,
there was one little old lady just desperately clutching onto her granddaughter or daughter in fear, and that was it. Laurelyn controllably snapped, and she turned around and got in each one of their faces and just started saying, "Shame on you!
I said,
how dare you
come and protest with your fake narratives and your fake blood, with your fake wrapped up baby,
and fake statistics and fake propaganda
at these people's memorial service. The people you're advocating for went and slaughtered and raped and hacked up and burned and beheaded and all of these horrible things. They're people. And then you're going to have the gall to come and protest at the memorial service." And I just went down the line. Shame on you. Shame on you.
What was that you said?
Except I didn't say it quite that nicely.
How did you put it? Something about a funeral?
I said, how would you feel if somebody murdered your mother, and then at the funeral came to lead a protest, because that's what that was.
It was horrendous, but
This is the price that the Jewish people have paid for being the ones
mhm,
who would birth the Messiah, who would carry the scroll, who would be in covenant with the Most
who bring
High,
a
who
light
is
to the
good.
world. Yeah, and there's one little elderly Jewish lady who just turned around. She's like, thank you so much for that." And then one of the Israeli security guards was sitting there. He's like, "I'm so glad I was here at this moment to witness that."
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah. I
that.
forgot to tell you about that. He's this really like tough Israeli looking guy. And so
But they weren't standing up for
you
themselves.
know,
It was like it just brought to mind the the kid, the the smart kid with the glasses on the playground who's getting beat up by the jerk bully. And I wasn't gonna have it on my watch.
it was good.
We should have gotten video of it.
So, well, when we left that theater, right, there was a B-52 poster there. B-52 kept popping up all over. It just kept popping up everywhere, and I was like, "Okay, creator, what are you trying to say?" From my ticket to Atlanta, my gate was B-52. We land at the airport. The song is playing. Everything's happening, and then at the Day of Atonement, right, literally, Laurelyn has the microphone in her hand. It's in her hand. She's about ready to speak, and right before that, I hear Creator Spirit say, "Get out your phone. You can go see this on my Facebook page and start recording." And you will see, I kid you not, right before she spoke, a B-52 flies across the National Mall. There's even more details that we'll share at a different time, but it just shows you how when Creator's in control and you're walking according to his timing, incredible things happen. There's a plane flying over.
And then at the end, when I was speaking, as I was closing it, another B-52.
It was like the bookends.
I would not have known, except that Joseph knows how to identify, literally from his army training, every aircraft that was created
It was part
by
of our
that time.
school.
So why was Yom Kippur important? It's
And the Million
always
Woman March.
important.
It was, yes.
Every year it's important, but this year was, I believe, really key, because I have been sewing into Lou Engel's ears for years.
Not just you.
I told him it's great you being involved with the National Day of Prayer so much and leading people to repentance and prayer, but let's do it when God tells us to do it. Let's join with Israel
Mhm.
in doing it on the National Day of Prayer in the Bible, which is the day, Judgment Day, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur.
And if you know anything about Lou Engle or his ministry and his calling, for years he would feel led to fill stadiums, for prayers, fasting, and we're sitting here going, I wonder if he realizes that this is such and such a feast day, that this is such and such a feast day. Another time it was he had a vision to go and be in a field, and he called the event "The King is in the Field," and it was during the Hebrew month of Elul. And we're like, "Hey, Lou, do you realize that you're having this event and you're calling it this and this is this?" And he was
Meet
just
me in the field or something.
meet me in the
like
field
that.
or something, yeah. And he's just completely led of the Holy Spirit in that. So we've been telling him about the feast, and like Laurelyn said, she's like, "Look, National Day of Prayer, Yom Kippur, it's a rehearsal anyway. There's so much that's tied to this." And he was absolutely ecstatic about that, and it happened. And
So he decided this year to have it on Yom Kippur. That this gathering, he'd been talking to me
3 years.
I think it was 2.5 years,
Okay.
about doing a Million Woman March and it being an Esther March. And so it's beautiful how he has been led by the Holy Spirit without even understanding or knowing the feasts, and being led into understanding
Mm-hmm.
the biblical calendar and timing. And he's been kind to credit us in that development. So we've been pouring into him as much as he is interested in knowing. When he calls us, we answer and answer his questions. And
Mostly about the feast, the appointed times.
and we've been teaching on this for 2 decades.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing culmination of so many prayers and so many hours of teaching. How I wonder how many people we've introduced to the feasts over the years, and to see it mass exploded onto the Christian scene, onto the church scene
to hear,
through him
yeah, to hear this very prominent mainstream Christian leader
is
denouncing
such a joy.
Ishtar,
Such a joy.
you know, and we only thought that we had a very small part at the beginning, and that was Larlene opening up in prayer, and that was pretty much it that I thought of. And then next thing I
He
know,
wanted us to come back.
he
and be
wanted us to
part
come
of
back for the communion. That was incredible. And then the altar comes out.
We got to smash the altar of Ishtar.
I was like, oh my gosh, I am fulfilling the mandate that my mother prayed over me, a Gideon mandate. And never did I imagine that it would be like this. And
it was amazing.
It was absolutely incredible. Ishtar asked us the same thing. But if you don't know what we're talking about or don't understand, that's also, you can go to one of our feast teachings specifically about Easter to understand more about that. So it was, I think that spirit, and I'll just do this in a real quick thing, that whatever we lift up, that's gonna be what we receive. And in the church lifting up Easter, every year a goddess of fertility and sex and transgenderism and all sorts of, all sorts of stuff. Sexual immorality, just everything, child sacrifice. That when that goddess is lifted up, are we surprised that, I can't remember the statistic, I think it was like 80%, no, I'm sorry, yeah, 80% of pastors in the church struggle with pornography and sexual addiction. 80%. So watch what you're lifting up. That's all I have to say there. But being able to smash that altar was very, very satisfying at the National Mall.
So I want to just share with you some behind the scenes idiosyncrasies that I thought were super amazing, like little fingerprints of God all over my life. And it was just such a joy. So I got a call, even though we'd been talking to him about it for years, he didn't actually ever give me like the formal official invite to come and do the opening prayer. He brought up that, I think I'm going to ask this or whatever. But on my birthday, September 16th, Lou Engle called me and said, I want you to come lead the opening prayer.
No, he said, Larlene, I want you to come and lead the opening prayer. It has to be you. The Holy Spirit is telling me this.
So I said, wow, Lou, that's an amazing birthday gift. Thank you so much. I would be honored. I've actually been praying for the ability to be able to get there to do this, because it was
she was just
really
like, I just want to be in the
heart.
crowd. She's I just want to be one of the people in the crowd.
I said, I just want to be a face in the crowd. That's fine. I just want to be there.
With all the Esthers and Mordecais.
And I want to be there to repent and to bring the spirit down that is pervasive through the church and is wreaking havoc in America.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a great big birthday gift from God that he called me on my birthday.
I forgot that it was on your birthday that he called. He didn't know that.
But what was really fascinating is that if you look at my birthday in the year that I was born on the Hebrew calendar, and if you look at the sighted moon, what the moon phase was, I was actually born on Yom Kippur. And so it was inviting me to
speak
come
at the Capitol
on my,
and then they say,
come and destroy, be a part of the destruction of my nemesis spirit in the universe, this unholy goddess.
Yep. And that morning,
the
driver
said, we're
says,
going to have a driver. They said, coordinated with us. We're going to have a driver come and pick you up,
because they had to coordinate the traffic routes and all that stuff. And they said, we'll pick you up at 7:20
a.m. And I looked at my husband. I kid you not. So 72 is like one of my numbers. And I was 7 pounds 2 ounces, and I was born at 7:20 a.m.
That's exactly when she was picked up to
And
go speak
that
at the
is
National
when
Mall.
I emerged from our Airbnb to go fulfill probably my life's destiny
To smash an altar.
on my birthday.
It was incredible.
And
Now,
so, I'm hoping God still has purpose for me
he does, and
after that.
that's the last thing that we're going to talk about, because throughout all these things, although our mind and our heart, we were there with what we were doing with our Israeli friends and Jewish people, and also at the mall,
Things we
and at the
had planned for a
Capitol, things that we
while.
planned for a while.
Other
The
than that.
hurricane hit our county, no, completely destroyed our water system. Thankfully, our house was okay, but our hearts was to be here during the disaster.
So
Because for 6 years, this is what we've been telling people. This is what we've
get
been
ready,
teaching people. This is what we've been training people on emergency preparedness. And thankfully, we had people on the ground here who were able to coordinate. Thank you so much to the Warnikovs and to the Fair brothers.
So we were on the phone calling and texting, and
Getting your donations,
thank
sending them
you
out.
to you guys who donated time, donated funds, donated goods, brought things.
Mhm.
We had people here who are amazing people, who helped get that out in the community. We were trying not to be green with envy that we couldn't be there too, but we can't be in two places at once.
Everyone assured us the Lord created wanted you exactly where you needed to be. As
And he
soon
made
as
it
we got
clear.
back, we put our boots on and we hit the ground volunteering. There's still a lot of long-term recovery. You've seen some of the pictures that we posted on our social media and videos, distribution and such.
This is a
Um,
long-term
it
recovery
is long
process.
term. I just got a message earlier today where they need volunteers for finding cadavers, and I've done that before when I was in the army. So there's still a lot going on. There's still people missing. There's still a lot of work that's happening. So please keep praying for us. We're running into issues with zoning for some of the things that we would like to do for the training school here and for teaching, for being able to provide relief. So in the meanwhile, we are actually just going out to the sites and to the distribution centers, and actually delivering products or delivering aid as well, because just for accountability's sake, we were asked, because we're trusted by our community, can you please deliver these goods? As you've probably heard, some of these things are popping up on different channels being
And
sold, but the police have taken care of that, thankfully.
we have created a vetting process
Mhm.
that we're about to disseminate among all of the different aid networks and pop-up volunteer and donation organizations to help them know how to vet and how to discourage and how to sift through people, so that we can make sure that what is donated for the people gets given to people. It's better right this minute if you don't volunteer time or money, because what is needed keeps shifting. And so sometimes there's a lag. And so people donate items that they hear are needed, but by the time they get there, there is a plethora of that particular type of item.
Mhm.
And so the most flexibility is if you either give gift certificates or funds, and especially volunteer hours. We're in the process of publishing on our website things that even remotely you could do, where you don't have to leave your home. You could put some 15 minutes in on your work break, just different ways that you can help the disaster relief from where you are.
Mhm.
And it's everything from making phone calls to, we just got contacted by somebody today who said,
Oh yeah,
so creative.
if you, I posted that picture of not even a few miles from our house. There's a old colonial home, 176 years old. It was a homestead, beautiful, completely gone except for like the building and some of the frames,
Shell.
the shell, and just outside was just a small pile of what was left of their family albums, and that was it. That was all. And I posted that picture, just saying, hey, it's been a month, but there's still a lot of recovery that needs to take place.
The owners, of course, were not in the house, but they had contacted us.
Hmm.
They knew of us, and
Didn't realize that we were so close to them.
and so we went and we saw all these photo albums discarded outside. We collected them up in a bag and
And protected them.
contacted them and said these look like they were out with the trash heap.
Yeah, there was like, kids pictures, holiday pictures, and of course completely damaged. I put it out there and was contacted by a photography studio who said, I will do digital restorations of every photograph for free. So there's ways, and this person, they're like states and states away, that I know of. So there's always something that can be done. Um, if you're giving financially, make sure that you know where you're
And
giving.
that might not seem like a really big deal when you're talking about people's lives at stake, but if you could look at one of the people whose lives had been decimated by everything destroyed, there are a couple of things
And
that nobody can ever replace.
And they face the house being condemned, so they can't come back to it.
One of the things is they can never replace the people that were taken, the lives that were lost. But the other thing is those personal items like photographs. That's not something that, like if they could name one thing, that probably would be it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get those back, especially old pictures like that,
So that's going to mean a lot to them, and I'm really grateful to the man who reached out to us to do that.
So we're still actively doing disaster relief through Firekeepers. Thank you for the donations that you've been giving.
When Yeshua said the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few, that's what we feel like right now. Is we need the laborers. So we are focusing right now in the Appalachian area.
Yeah, East Tennessee, Western North Carolina.
A favorite place to be. We're in the process of trying to make something that's more scalable and to partner with other organizations that have some aspects of disaster relief down to a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be looking at helping it become a more scalable things. If you have people and interest in other areas, for right now, we're focusing in the Appalachians. And I'll tell you, I think that the reason why the Lord allowed this to happen in the Appalachian Mountain region, because this is unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, a hurricane doing this much devastation in this area, literally they're calling it a 500+ year flood.
And it's considered a geophysical event, that's because over 1,000 landslides,
over 1,000 bridges,
1,000
are irreparably, like, they're damaged.
How many miles of roads
and culverts? 1,600.
1,600. No, 6,000.
I think it was 6,000. We'll have to look on our website.
Yeah, a whole new geological formations, new islands, new river bends, new everything. I mean, just absolutely everything. So many. And it went from a 500-year historical to 1,000-year.
Well, what this means is that there has never been a disaster to this scale in Appalachia in its recorded history. So what we're talking about, what that means is that this is of epic proportion.
Biblical proportion.
We are in the end times. We are at the doorstep of the apocalypse. And I don't say this thing to scare you. I say it because, let me put it this way. If you're going to be scared of something like that, you're going to be scared one day when you realize it anyway. Let's just wake up to the fact, and then we can get skills and we can call upon the Lord and we can decide we're not going to be afraid of it. We were created for such a time as this.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get through this.
And we will. We need to.
And
because there is more coming. If you've read the beginning of the book and you read the end of the book, you know that there's more coming. If you're watching this and you don't read that book, guess what? even other cultures, even the First Nations prophecies also speak of the same things. That's why we say when the fires come, because there's fire coming. The earth was destroyed with water. My tribe has the flood story. Her tribe has the flood story. Many tribes have the flood story. And then we have stories of when the fires come, and it's going to be a purification of the earth. And we need to be ready for that. But will we survive it? I don't know. Is it going to happen in our lifetime? It's possible, but
I
these are
absolutely think we're
but
already in the beginning.
this is definitely like birth pangs times 100 already. If this isn't a sign to wake up, everybody's gone back to normal. Normal is not normal here in the Appalachians because people weren't ready
And you
for
know
it.
what? World War II started in Europe, but it ended up spreading out. So at first people outside of Europe were not feeling it. Appalachia is feeling the apocalypse
Still,
right
there's
now,
people living in tents.
and for months. They're saying it's going to take a generation to recover.
Yeah.
And so we're not just talking about a year of disaster relief. So we were dealing at one time with all kind of disaster relief coming in of epic proportions in the Appalachians. We were dealing with friends in Israel who were talking about the war and a million people having to run to bomb shelters.
Our friend sending us videos as he's hiding, as he's caught in the crossfire between Hezbollah and the IDF, and he's having to hide behind his farm truck. And he sends us a video of it. It's like, so much happening on so many fronts.
And so we want to encourage you, start to use the Joseph plan, 20%. And honestly, it was 20% when he had 7 years to plan.
We've been talking about this for 6 now.
We may not have 7 years to get to a good, strong position.
Mm-hmm.
So start to strategize. Is your vehicle one that will be good for the apocalypse?
Oh my gosh.
Ours is not. It's been on our prayer list.
It's a hybrid, and I tell everybody it identifies as an SUV.
18 years old.
Yeah, it didn't help that I put a car bra on it either, and that she calls the Danny boy. So anyway, it's doing its job, thankfully.
So, yes, it's running very well, very well.
Mm-hmm.
So your next car purchase, make sure it's going to be one that makes sense.
The zombie apocalypse vehicle. Yeah, you're going to need something that's rugged, that can get over things, that can run over things. And not go flat. And I'm running over zombies and logs, and I mean.
I hope y'all have a sense of humor.
Yes, they do.
So start to make sure you've got water prep on your radar, and devote time to skill set development. We will be trying to recruit some more instructors because our running an organization and doing all of the stuff that we're supposed to be doing is pretty challenging. Mm-hmm. So please keep us in your prayers. If you know people who are doing things of like mind, help connect us. We will try to help connect you. Please keep us in your prayers.
We will be we'll be putting together a firekeepers work time with the volunteers for some things to prepare here on the land before the springtime. So check out our subscribe to our newsletter for that, either the RiverWinds.com or firekeepersinternational.org. Thank you all for your prayers and your support, and especially the prayers. We definitely need that,
and especially the support.
Yeah, of course. I know it's difficult when sometimes people don't know exactly what we do, and we don't have time and exactly what we're doing. So thank you all, everybody. May creators bless you abundantly. Thank you for your time, your energy. Thank you for the volunteers. Thank you for all of those who have helped out to make things happen. All of you. Y'all have no idea. We have an incredible team of volunteers that do so much, and we appreciate you all and love you all very much.
And if you want to be one of them, let us know. Mm-hmm. Whatever your skill sets are, we can find something for you to do in the kingdom. So many blessings. Thank you for your help and your prayers
Is there
and
any
your time
last
and your love.
thing? Because sometimes we're like, oh, I think we should have said this. Nope. We got some things coming up. Stay tuned.